Hello everyone, and welcome to the Art of Balance 3 presentation. I am OneBillyBob1, the lead developer of the Tornado Alley series. Today, we'll be discussing content that is coming in the next update, the Art of Balance 3. Now, before we begin, what is the Art of Balance? The Art of Balance is an idea that was spanned across 3 updates, with the goal to balance the amount of game modes and public maps in the game. When the Art of Balance updates began in early 2021, 3 maps were needed to balance the amount of game modes and maps. The first Art of Balance update was in February of 2021, where we released Airport as the first of 3 maps to come. The second Art of Balance update was in May of 2021, where we released Tropico as the second map of 3 maps. We also threw in some extra content, such as the neighborhood map revamp, the volcano disaster, and sub-game modes such as Retro Your Doom. Now, we sit at the final stage of the Art of Balance updates, over a year since the concept was initially planned out. We want to thank you all for your patience while we worked on the final chapter to these updates, and hopefully, you find the wait to be worthwhile. So, now you're caught up on the meaning behind the Art of Balance updates. It's time to finally dive into the new content coming in this next update to the game. First, let's start with a reveal trailer that likely many of you have seen, though some of you may not have seen it yet, so please take a look. So, what did you think? Alien Invasion is coming to Tornado Alley Ultimate in the Art of Balance 3 update. Let's jump a bit more into Alien Invasion and talk about how it works. Alien Invasion plays a bit different from the other disasters in the game. It's more of an AI disaster, or even sort of a boss battle. When alien invasion occurs, the aliens that invade will come from different possible extraterrestrial civilizations, and their behavior will vary. The civilization's behavior is random, but they can range from passive to very hostile. There are 4 possible types of civilization behavior: passive, neutral, aggressive, and vengeful. Each behavior has a different goal when attacking Earth. Passive civilizations want to simply study humans, even if that means a few may need to be sacrificed. Neutral civilizations find Earth as a threat and want to reduce the threat by attacking. Aggressive civilizations have a goal of conquering Earth for their own. And vengeful civilizations have only one goal in mind: destroy Earth and everything that inhabits it. These behaviors will determine what movesets the aliens will have when they invade. The behavior also will determine how many UFOs will invade the map. There are 4 possible moves the UFOs can use to wreak havoc on the map: abduction beams, death rays, anti-gravity rays, and sometimes even a heat-seeking laser. Death rays are red beams that shoot out from the bottom of the UFO. They will destroy anything in their path, including humans and structures, so you best avoid them when you can. Anti-gravity rays are actually less dangerous, as they only target structures. When structures are hit by anti-gravity rays, debris will float into the atmosphere. This isn't a direct threat to players, but it can leave them exposed to the other deadly weapons the UFOs do possess. Abduction beams are the staple weapons of UFOs. Aliens will sometimes try to abduct players into their spaceship. Shelter is extremely important against abduction beams, because if the aliens try to abduct you through a building, a ceiling may be the only saving grace from you being abducted and subsequently killed. Lastly, heat-seeking lasers. These weapons are only used by aggressive and vengeful behaviored civilizations, but they are extremely deadly. The heat-seeking lasers are a more powerful death ray, but this time they target individual players. The best way to survive these are to be inside a building, as the lasers would have to break through the structure in order to kill you. We've been wanting to add alien invasion for a long time. It was actually a scrapped idea and was once supposed to be added alongside Atomic Bomb a few years ago. Though they are here now, and I hope you like it. Alien Invasion is the 9th bonus disaster that has been added to Tornado Alley Ultimate. However, it's not the last one to be introduced today. Please take a look. That's right, Pollution is coming to Tornado Alley Ultimate as the 10th bonus disaster. The pollution disaster centers around air that becomes too polluted to breathe. The air conditions get so bad that suffocation is inevitable if you don't take any action. Pollution's gameplay is similar to Atomic Bomb in the sense where you have to race against time. But this new disaster incorporates another obstacle: other players. When an onset of pollution begins, an airplane will be flown over the map to drop a supply crate of gas masks needed to survive. All you have to do is grab a gas mask from the crate before pollution gets heavy. Easy, right? Well, it would be if there weren't limited gas masks. The amount of gas masks in the crate depends on how many players are in the game. There will always be a shortage of gas masks, meaning first come, first serve. For example, if there are 5 players in a game, there may only be 3 gas masks available. The first 3 players to get a mask will be safe, while the other 2 will be left stranded and hopeless. That is, unless they have an underground shelter key. The only way to survive pollution is either by having a gas mask or by using the underground shelter. If pollution gets too heavy and you're without either solution, you'll slowly suffocate to death. And don't think healing items will help you either. They may buy you extra time, but the rate you suffocate increases the longer you're exposed, meaning eventually you'll die, regardless of a goblet or Bloxy Cola healing item. Pollution is the 10th bonus disaster coming to the game, though it was actually planned far earlier than Alien Invasion was. Did you know that Pollution was going to be added way back in June 2020 but was replaced by Acid Rain? Regardless, we're finally happy to bring both into the game after all this time. Now, speaking of Acid Rain, let's talk a little bit about the weather system. For the Art of Balance 3 update, we've changed the weather system up a lot. We've added dynamic clouds to give a better sense of realism, and we've also revamped the weather for a lot of disasters. Flash floods, for example, have a much darker atmosphere to them rather than the bright blue atmosphere they used to have. Hurricanes, as another example, have a much more bluish atmosphere to them rather than the old gray atmosphere they had prior. Now, probably the most noticeable change you will see is the prevalence of rain. Rain now falls when appropriate, which definitely gives a more immersive feel when playing Tornado Alley Ultimate. We really hope you enjoy the new weather system, but please note that we may continue to make further changes to the atmospheres of certain disasters and game modes far beyond the release of the update. These changes are only visual changes, but we did alter some of the bonus disasters as well. We made many small changes to some of the bonus disasters. Some of these changes were simple balancing changes, such as making Lava Flood more deadly like it once was. However, we made a few larger changes to one of the bonus disasters as well. Let's take a look at Hurricane. Hurricane is definitely a fan-favorite disaster of the game. Though, the more players experience it, the easier it is to understand how it works, and eventually you can easily determine what part of the map is safe because you learn which direction the hurricane always comes from on certain maps. That all changes with Art of Balance 3. Hurricanes are now multi-directional, meaning they will arrive from different directions every time. Instead of always arriving from the same direction, hurricanes can now enter from either the north, south, east, or west. The roleplay messages will give you an early warning about the direction the hurricane is coming from, but regardless, this will definitely make you rethink your strategy on how to survive hurricanes, because now, nowhere is safe. There were other smaller changes to other disasters as well, but we'll leave it to you to see them. I also wanted to talk about the most important disaster in the game, tornadoes. We've made some changes to tornadoes that are fairly big, so I think it's important to cover them. When you are too close to a tornado, you may be familiar with the drag feature that slowly drags your player into the tornado when in range. This has actually been revamped in the Art of Balance 3 update. Now, the drag power exerted on your player depends on how close you are to the tornado. The closer you are, the more powerful the drag force is, and if you're too close, it may be too powerful to outrun. With these changes, we've actually extended the range the drag force can happen, so you could be much further away from the tornado now and still experience being dragged in. But because the drag force power depends on how close you are, keeping distance will be more important than ever before. And, as an added bonus, when you're in the process of being dragged in, your screen will change visually. It will become saturated, your screen will shake, and it will slowly get darker and harder to see. This makes it much more challenging to escape the drag force, because it can quickly obscure your vision and disorient you. Another major change we added to tornadoes applies to all of the game modes that have multiple tornadoes, such as Double Trouble, Triple Threat, and Fornado. In the past, when multiple tornadoes spawn at once, they all spawned in the same location. This is no longer the case. When multiple tornadoes now spawn, they will all spawn in random locations on the map. This makes game modes that have many tornadoes even more difficult, because the more tornadoes there are, the more likely it is for one to spawn within your general location. Speaking of multiple tornado game modes, we've decided to make Pentanado, which was once a private server exclusive game mode, now a public game mode, meaning in this update, you'll be able to experience Pentanado, or 5 tornadoes at once, in public servers for the first time. This is because we're introducing a new game mode to private servers. SIX-NADO is coming to private servers and will be replacing Pentanado as a private server exclusive game mode. With SIX-NADO, you can now experience up to 6 tornadoes at once in private servers. We always thought that Fornado would be pushing the boundaries of performance, and then we added Pentanado. Now, we added SIX-NADO. What else could we do? Well, it's time to introduce a new rare event that can occur, and we call this event Dual Threat. Dual Threat has a 1% chance of occurring during any tornado game mode. This rare event will reveal itself before the tornado forms. If a dual threat phenomenon is occurring, a second emergency alert system will appear announcing it. Dual Threat essentially doubles the game mode's tornado count. This means for the first time ever, you can experience 2 Freeze-NADOs at once, or maybe 2 Your Doom tornadoes at once. And this even applies to multi-tornado game modes, meaning in a private server, you can experience up to 12 tornadoes at once if Dual Threat occurs during SIX-NADO. Dual Threat is a rare event that we thought would be very cool to add to Tornado Alley Ultimate. We hope you enjoy it and the endless scenarios it can create. Now that we covered some of the public server changes happening to the game, we want to introduce some new changes coming to private servers. Currently, if you buy a private server for Tornado Alley Ultimate, you have many perks that aren't present in public servers. You're able to queue any game mode, pick any map, have access to dozens of classic private server exclusive maps, and change some settings such as the time of day and disabling the lightning mechanic. However, we wanted to greatly expand upon the many perks a private server includes, so we'd like to share them with you today. Firstly, you'll notice that we changed all of the main settings into a user interface that the server owner can easily access no matter where they are in the game. On top of this, we added a ton of new controls and settings for server owners to adjust to their liking. You'll notice 4 tabs on the interface: Admin, Game, Queue, and Extras. In the Admin tab, we have 2 current features for server owners. The first is a simple kick function that allows the server owner to kick any player from their private server. If a player is causing issues, you can remove them from the game very easily. The second feature is called No New Players. If enabled, the game will automatically kick any player that tries joining if they're under a day old. So now, if someone is attempting to cause trouble in your private server by creating alternative accounts, you can simply turn this feature on, and it will prevent any day-old accounts from entering your server. So now, let's look at the Game tab. which has a ton of new controls for server owners in a private server. The first setting you will see is bonus disasters. Server owners can now turn off bonus disasters, meaning both natural and queued bonus disasters will be disabled. So if you prefer surviving only against tornadoes, you could turn this feature on to disable bonus disasters. The second feature is the same lightning mechanic setting that server owners currently have, though it is now in this user interface rather than the private server room in the lobby for your convenience. Turning this on simply disables the lightning mechanic. Next, we have the round duration feature. Server owners can now modify how long the tornadoes will last. In order to prevent survival farming, we've set the minimum limit to 120 seconds, which is the same duration as a public server. However, you are able to have up to 999 second long tornado rounds, which is about 16.5 minutes if you prefer. The next feature is the time of day modifier, which is another setting server owners already have in the current version of the game. The difference with this new setting, however, is that server owners can now choose any time of the day rather than a simple day or night preset. The next three settings affect the game itself. The first is called Prevent Inventory Items. If you have ever wanted a round where all players are forced to survive without any aid of accessories, you could turn this on. This simply makes all players load into the game without any of their equipped accessories. PvP mode, or player versus player mode, is a fun little setting that you can turn on that turns all loot that spawns into weapons from the skirmish game mode. With this enabled, no matter what the game mode is, weapons will spawn and you can battle other players without the fear of being jailed prematurely like in the skirmish game mode. And lastly, the final setting in the Game tab is Underground Shelters. As a server owner, you can disable the Underground Shelter feature to prevent anyone from entering it. So, if you ever wanted a round where everybody must face the disaster head-on, you could turn this on and players will be notified that they can't enter the shelter if they try to. Queuing game modes works similar to how it did before, but the Queue tab offers a better explanation on how to do it. Now, you may be wondering what the Extras tab is, or rather, you may be wondering what is the purpose of the private server room now that all of the controls that were once there are now in an interface. Well, the private server room has a new purpose. In the private server room, you'll find even more controls for your private server. Modifiers. Modifiers are fun little extra controls that you can turn on for your enjoyment. There's only a few currently, but we plan to add more in the future. The first modifier is called Epic Ducks. With this turned on, all meteors in the game turn into ducks. Why? Because why not? Another modifier is called Super ZEUS. By turning this on, all lightning in the game becomes supercharged. Their damage is increased, their radius is increased, and you'll notice your screen shakes more when lightning strikes. Supercharged lightning also has a purplish color to them. Combining this modifier with the ZEUS game mode itself can be one chaotic combination. This next modifier we'd like to show to you will likely satisfy many fans of the old Tornado Alley games. We hear a lot that many of you miss the old mesh tornadoes instead of the beam tornadoes that Tornado Alley Ultimate incorporates today. Well, we've heard your requests. The next modifier I'd like to introduce is called Mesh Tornadoes. By turning on the Mesh Tornadoes modifier, all tornadoes will have a retro feel to them. Now, you can once again experience what old Tornado Alley was like with Mesh Tornadoes. We hope you enjoy using this modifier to experience a blast from the past. The last modifier we'll be showing today is Hardcore Mode. We plan to expand onto it more in the future, but just know that for now, turning this modifier on makes the game more difficult to survive. All of these new private server controls will be included with the arrival of the Art of Balance 3 update. If you currently own a private server, no action is necessary on your part. all of these controls will arrive for your enjoyment when the update is released. The price for a private server will remain the same, 200 Robux per month. So, what do you think so far of the update? We have a bit more to show off, and maybe a few surprises left, so I hope you're excited. Remember, at the end, we'll be revealing the next map for the update, so stay tuned. Now, let's keep talking a bit more about some changes this update brings. You may have noticed from earlier in the presentation, but we've significantly improved the interaction system. We know a lot of you have had trouble trying to get into the shelter due to an unresponsive interaction system, so we've revamped it and now it works flawlessly. We're still in the process of revamping a few features, and with such a big update, we were unfortunately unable to finish a few features we plan to revamp. One of these features is the carrying feature. We know it's vital to the game, but we're going to temporarily disable it upon Art of Balance 3's release. But don't worry, once we finish revamping it, we'll be sure to re-implement it back into the game once ready. Speaking of bringing features back, I'd like to quickly talk about one game feature that was once removed and now returning. In the very early days of Tornado Alley Ultimate, the round results used to reveal the amount of monetary damage caused by a tornado after a round. It was removed when we released the Ultimate update back in June 2020, but we've decided to reintroduce it after we've made some significant changes to the round results interface. Now, after every tornado round, you could see a fun little statistic showing how much financial damage a tornado causes. Speaking of round results, you can now see the survival results of a bonus disaster if it occurs. A simple click of a button will now allow you to check the survivors of the tornado, as well as the survivors of a bonus disaster if one occurred. Also, we know a lot of players love to keep track of how many times they've survived a disaster, so we're introducing a brand new feature that keeps track of how many times you've survived a bonus disaster. By opening up your inventory screen, you'll notice a button that says Stats. By clicking on this button, you'll see a list of all bonus disasters in the game, as well as how many times you survived each one. If you survive a bonus disaster 100 times, you'll master the bonus disaster, which may offer benefits in the future. And speaking of bonus disasters, this update introduces a summoning cooldown of 30 seconds, meaning players will no longer be able to spam disasters too easily. Now, it's time to finally discuss some changes to specific game modes. There's not too many in this update, but there's still a few I'd like to cover. First, I'd like to talk about the Time Bomb Terror game mode. In this update, we've increased the rate that bombs are launched, and we also increased their blast radius from 10 studs to 20. Another major change comes to Troll-NADO, Jacko-NADO, and Wraith-NADO. This update makes these game modes unable to harm you if you are inside the shelter, which was once not the case. So as long as you are in the shelter from now on during these game modes, you will be safe from their curses. The last major change made to a game mode is Bombs Away. Bombs Away now includes 4 different bomb types. Alongside the standard bomb, 3 new bomb types were added to Bombs Away. They are called Blue Burst, Yellow Lightning, and the mother of all bombs. We aren't going to go in depth on these bomb types today, so we'll leave it up to you to experience them as an element of surprise. Those are all the game mode changes we were able to show today. I hope you like them. It has been over a year since we added the final game mode, Skirmish, to Tornado Alley Ultimate when it was released in January of 2021. Today, however, that changes. It is time to introduce a brand new game mode coming to Tornado Alley Ultimate. Lurker is a brand new game mode coming to Tornado Alley Ultimate. You may notice how similar it looks to the limited time Krampus game mode that was present during Holiday Bash. No pun intended. This is because the Krampus game mode actually used the Lurker Tornado, since Lurker was still in development at the time. Lurker's main mechanic is that it can stalk individual players. It has a nightmarish looking chat bubble that will show the name of the player it intends to target. If you're targeted by the Lurker, your screen will be cluttered with unsettling messages. If you see it target you, you best run away as fast as you can. Of course, the underground shelter is safe from the Lurker, and it will only target players that it can reach in the map. So I definitely recommend planning your strategy ahead of time before the Lurker arrives, because it is very hard to outrun it. Lurker will arrive with the release of Art of Balance 3 as the 27th game mode in the game. We're almost finished with the presentation today. Though, before we are, I'd like to mention that there are tons of smaller changes coming to the game as well that we did not cover in this presentation. As usual, you will be able to see all of the changes made in this update in the update log, which will be available when Art of Balance 3 is released. So please feel free to read that to understand everything coming that we did not cover today. And with that, it is now time to reveal what you all have been waiting for. Map 3 of the Art of Balance updates. As a refresher, the Art of Balance updates intended to bring 3 new maps to the game. The first being Airport, the second being Tropico, and the third has been unknown until now. Before we reveal Map 3, I wanted to mention that the music you are about to hear was specifically composed for this reveal. It is by far my favorite soundtrack I've ever composed for the game. It's called Balance at Last, and I hope you like it. And with that, it is time to reveal Map 3. Please take a look. That's right. Map 3 was not just one map. Map 3 was actually a collection of many maps. We wanted to push ourselves for the content included in this update, and this meant more maps than ever introduced in an update before. Nuclear Power Plant, Giza, Timberton Revamp, Atomtown, Telaville 2013, and Telaville 2022 are all arriving with the Art of Balance 3 update. It's time to talk about the main map introduced, Telaville. Telaville has a long history with the Tornado Alley series. The first reference to Telaville was in the first ever Tornado Alley game that released back in 2013. Telaville was never a playable map, but it was referenced as a city that was destroyed in the original game's roleplay messages. The name itself, Telaville, derives from the Roblox admin, TELAMON, who you may now know as Shedletsky. When we decided to add Telaville to the game, we wanted to build upon the original Tornado Alley game's lore, where it was stated Telaville was destroyed. So in order to do such, we're introducing two versions of Telaville. The first version is called Telaville 2022, which is what the city looks like today, 9 years after a catastrophic event took place that left the city abandoned and ruined. The second version is called Telaville 2013, which is what the city looked like in the year 2013, right before the catastrophic event took place. Telaville was once known as the Dream City, and now, the events that happened there left it desolated, and all that remains are broken dreams. That leaves the question, what was the catastrophic event that caused Telaville's demise? Many refer to this event as the monster of 2013. But what truly was it? Well, we may never know. But if you look hard enough, you may find the answer to your question. I hope you enjoy the maps that arrive in Art of Balance 3. Now, there are only 3 more announcements left in this presentation. What could they be? Well, this may come as a surprise, but alien invasion and pollution are not the only disasters to arrive in this update. There is actually one more we want to show you today. Please take a look. That's right. Black Hole is coming as the final disaster introduced in this update. When the black hole disaster occurs, a black hole will form in random areas of the map. The smaller it is, the less powerful it is. In order for a black hole to grow, it requires mass to be collected from parts around it. If a black hole forms in a cluttered area with tons of debris to collect, the black hole will thrive and become very big, thus more powerful. If a black hole is unable to grow, it will eventually die off, but a new one will spawn to take its place, with hopes to be more successful. Lastly, if a black hole becomes too big, it will also die, spawning a new one to take its place. Black Hole is the 11th bonus disaster to be coming to Tornado Alley Ultimate. I really hope you enjoy alien invasion, pollution, and black hole in this update. Now, it's time for the final 2 announcements. Unfortunately, we weren't able to get these 2 announcements ready in time for Art of Balance 3's release. so I hope you are willing to give us a bit more time to work on them. However, we still consider them a part of Art of Balance 3 and will release them sometime after the update's release once we're satisfied with them. Though, we'd like to share them with you today. The final two announcements are two brand new game modes coming to Tornado Alley Ultimate. On top of the Lurker game mode, these two game modes will also be coming, making a total of 3 brand new game modes to the game, and 4 if you count SIX-NADO. Here is the game mode logo for the first unannounced game mode. A highly fan-requested game mode, Taijutsu, will come to Tornado Alley Ultimate sometime after the release of Art of Balance 3. I can't talk too much about this game mode at this time, as it's still early in development, but I hope you look forward to it. And now, it's time for the final game mode reveal, and the final reveal of this presentation. Again, it is just a teaser, as it won't be ready when the update itself releases, but I hope you look forward to it regardless. Please take a look. Tartarus is making its debut in an official Tornado Alley game when it releases sometime after Art of Balance 3 in Tornado Alley Ultimate. As a developer, we love seeing community fan creations of our game. Whether that's fan art, fan music, or even fan games, there's certainly a very talented community that loves to leave their mark on the series' legacy. In January of this year, after discussing it with the other Tornado Alley Ultimate developers, we thought it would be a great idea to include fan creations to represent the fans directly into Tornado Alley Ultimate. We wondered what would be the best content addition to directly represent fans, and we figured that including a game mode from the most popular Tornado Alley Ultimate fan game, Tornado Insanity, would be the best choice. So we reached out to the developer of the fan game, Soda Shine Games, and they were on board to bring Tartarus to Tornado Alley Ultimate. Soda Shine Games no longer works on Tornado Insanity, though they are working on a new game called Disaster Warning, which I definitely recommend checking out. Overall, we thank Soda and Soda Shine Games for working with us to bring a very loved fan game mode to Tornado Alley Ultimate, and I hope the community is excited to see its debut. Taijutsu and Tartarus will release sometime after the Art of Balance 3 update, and we'll give more news on them once they're ready, so please stay tuned. And that is all of the content we have to reveal for you all today. It has been a long process of development, so I really hope you are looking forward to the Art of Balance 3 update. As for a release date, because this update has so much content, we need to do a lot of testing to ensure it properly works upon release. Because of this, I'm unfortunately unable to give you an exact date just yet. However, if all testing goes well, we're aiming for an early June release. After this presentation, we're going to be entering the closed testing stages of the update. We may also require open testing sessions that would ask for your help. So please stay tuned to the Tornado Alley community group for news on open testing sessions. And when we're ready to announce an exact release date, we'll be announcing it on the Tornado Alley community group wall, the Discord server, and the TAU Twitter account when ready, so please stay tuned. Thank you all so much for your patience, and I hope you look forward to the Art of Balance 3 update. I'd like to thank everyone who contributed to the presentation, and extend my greatest appreciation to the Tornado Alley community. Thank you for your support over the years, and I am so excited to jump into the next era of Tornado Alley Ultimate. And with that, we'll see you next time. Keep surviving.